So what should we do, Gary Vee? Let's wrap this up. What should we do? What should people do?
To me, hustle is maximizing the energy you're putting into somebody. I'm blown away by people saying that they're hustling and they want to achieve these great things and then their actions don't match. It's like saying you really want to lose weight while eating a Big Mac, right? So to me, hustle would be putting all your effort into achieving the goal at hand. And for me, that means making every minute count. There are a million reasons why not, but there's one great reason why, which is you've just got to persevere, no matter what it is. It's just the way it is. It's hard being an entrepreneur. It's hard building a business. Everybody thinks it's so easy, that there's an entitlement. There's a disaster. Zinging China, here comes my US zing right now. There is an insane generation of 18 to 25 year olds right now that think they're entitled to having a business because they saw the Social Network movie and everybody's decided if you're a kid and you know what tech is, because you used Instagram early on, you're entitled to actually build a business. Building a business is hard. And you know what makes it really hard? Everything that happens every day of every moment. So, you can pick time, you can pick money as the one or two things that you think stop you from winning your game, but the truth is, there's a million reasons. 99% of businesses go out of business for a reason, and that reason is, it's hard. Hustle is putting it all on the line. Hustle is waking up one day, the day before you die, and realizing you gave it your all into the parenting of your children, the building of your businesses, the philanthropy that you wanted to do. Whatever you define, it's just, you know, all in, emotionally and executionally, in theory and strategy and in execution. Don't complain about it. You've made that choice. Don't bullshit me. Like, you want to spend more time with your family? Spend more time with your family. This is back to what we said about keyboard warriors. I'm trying to be very careful about what I'm saying versus what I'm doing, because that's how you get exposed. And I don't mean like people calling you out and being like, you suck. I mean to yourself. I don't want to be exposed by myself. It's looking yourself in the mirror and saying like, am I doing this right? So to me, there's so many people that are talking shit about how big of an entrepreneur they're gonna be and how much they're gonna achieve, and they don't work on weekends. You know, I worked every Saturday of my 20s. And I talk to 20-year-old entrepreneurs every single day. Lately, I've been saying to them, this Saturday, you're gonna have more time off than I've had in my entire 20s on a Saturday. So like, before you tell me how you're gonna be bigger than me, start thinking about what you're actually doing. For the first 2 years that I ran VaynerMedia, we had no rent. We first worked out of a conference room. We then worked out of a co-working space before the whole WeWork and co-working space revolution, and I bartered my time to help that company in exchange for a very small space. We didn't buy furniture, we scrapped. And I'd already made it, I was already rich. And we scrapped. And so the biggest thing that I want to implore everybody here today to do is to take a step back and think about how fancy are they? Are you willing to be really, really, really ghetto? Do you really need that chair? Do you really need that piece of technology? Do you really need to fly that class? Like, I just think that we're living through an incredibly fancy culture of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship and CEO status is quite sexy. People are selling a lifestyle that is filled with lots of fun and trips and champagne and bikinis and bling bling and all sorts of horse shit, right? And I just think that era of this era is gonna come to an end somewhere within the next 5 years. And very honestly, I just don't want a lot of people in this room that dream to build their own businesses to have to go work at a bank or go work at a retail store. And so I would highly recommend something that I think is stunningly not talked about enough, which is, if you're building a business, you have to be making money. Everybody thinks they're gonna be Zucks. Everybody thinks they're gonna build Snapchat. Go look at the data. The data shows that the far majority of this room will not succeed, not even close to building an actual business. And I don't come here to be somber. I come here to remind you that there's only one thing you can do. The only thing you can do that can trump the moment mommy and daddy had sex to make you. The only thing that can trump that, the only thing that can trump your DNA, the only thing that is controllable, if you want it, if you want this, is work.
So I said the key to building wealth is not how much you can work. You can't work your way to wealth. You gotta invest your way there. And all wealthy people, black, white, Asian, Chinese, they own a whole bunch of shit. The people who aren't wealthy is because they don't own nothing. You only have your money sitting in cash. If your money is just sitting in cash, realistically, you're becoming poorer every day. Some people actually fear success. Success comes with a lot, right? But until you can overcome that average reality that you live in, no matter what you're on, once you become comfortable there, it becomes average. Anyone can live in average. Everyone can live in mediocrity, right? Then there's those outliers who consistently push themselves to go to the next level. Knowledge is what gives us leverage in life. It's not about how strong you are. It's about what you can learn. And then how can you actively apply that? The more money they print, the more money that money loses value. It's the reason why the bank wants you to have your money there, so they can take it and use it and invest it so much and be like, hey, it's just sitting, I'm gonna give you 50 cents on whatever you had in there. Right. And so the idea of ownership was, yo, we can just start owning everything that no matter if it's just a stock. Like, that's powerful, because if you can start owning the businesses that you now consume every day, you turn a one-time transaction to a lifetime of profit. And that was major for me, because if I go to the store and buy a pair of Nikes, that's a one-time transaction. In order for me to get something from them again, I gotta come back and buy another pair of Nikes. But if I own the Nike stock, long as I own it, it's a profitable vehicle for me. So that one-time transaction can become a lifetime of profit if I own that business. If I'm gonna buy Apple, if I know I'm an Apple user, if I know I got the phone, I got the AirPods, I got the MacBook, I got the PC, I excited when Apple's about to drop something, why wouldn't I own it? So he said, wealthy people stop trading time for money. They start making their money work for them, and they give value to as much value to people as they can. The caveat, we got a little deeper into that. He said, the reason why you give people so much value is because if you give them so much value, they'll never leave you, and they'll always be there for you, and you will never need for anything as long as you give value to people. Wealthy people, first they get into stocks, then they start a business, and then they get real estate. As long as you believe in it, like you said, the only belief that matters is, what do you believe you can do? I personally believe that there is nothing I cannot do. And for me, it's all about impact, purpose, fulfillment. Like, the money is a byproduct of everything else. That isn't my focus. My focus is I have a knowledge and information that I know that can change lives. Not just one life, not just like lives. And so the way that you change lives is by consistently learning, finding new ways to put that information out there, being able to open up, being able to be vulnerable, because people need to connect. So like, just coming up in the streets, you only see the game from the lowest level. And you look at everybody else in part admiration and part like jealousy, because you see it and you're like, damn, I'll never get there. Right? And so the only way that I think I can get that is through sports or hustling. That's it. That's the only, or rapping. Those are the only three options that you have. And so you make a decision on which way you want to go. Right? And so you look at it from like, damn. And so me, I'm at the time like, man, I can't rap. Damn sure I can't play sports. So hustling is what I got. You limit yourself, and nobody comes along and teaches you anything different. The reason why people think wealthy people or people with money are sinister is because that's what you kind of taught in the hood. Like, you kind of taught like the people who really have money, like they did some wicked shit to get it. They did some backstabbing, cutthroat shit to get it, and you'll never get that, right? And so that same mentality now happens on a lower level, right? The hustling, the dope dealing. So now you think like, yo, I gotta just do sinister shit to get money. And then the people who are successful in the drug game, they're looking at the people at the top like, damn, I wanna be that. But the people at the bottom will never get a taste of that. And so now we just kind of living off ambition. And so now the people who are in the middle who working, they're like, oh, them people with money, they all crooks. Because being at the bottom teaches you to envy people at the top. It just happens. It's something that brews down there, right? It's kind of like you cook. I don't know if you had gumbo before, right? But it's kind of when you cook food, right, the base goes to the bottom. And so most people live in that bottom, never knowing how they'll get up there. no one now believes that it's possible. Once you keep passing that down, you start accepting the lower level. And then there's a few of us, or a few people who said, nah, I'm an outlier, yo, like, I'm about to go for it. And then whatever happens, I'm with that shit. You feel me? So for me, again, one of the greatest things that happened to me was my mother telling me, like, the world is raw and you gotta get this shit how you live. But I also saw my grandmother be a legal entrepreneur. So I saw it from both worlds. The greatest thing that ever happened to me was going to prison, because I was able to sit down and mature in that environment. Whereas had I been in the world, I'm not saying I wouldn't still be this, but the path would have been completely different.
You have to maintain your ethics. You really do. There's no...
How do you do that?
It's very simple. It really is very simple. You just don't take the first step. If you're unethical your whole life, then that's who you are. For me, I was an ethical person. I never had a problem before. I never had a problem after. For me, it was very easy to find my ethical way, because in my heart of hearts, that's who I was. Wow. So who you surround yourself with is going to impact you. And I really made some bad decisions in who I surrounded myself with. I just did. When people tell you you're the king, or you're this, you're that, when I was 24, that was intoxicating. You know, all these young kids all looking up to me. I didn't handle that well. I thought, you start to think that like the normal rules don't apply to you. Which is why this time, when all the success happened with the movie and all the speaking, it didn't affect me at all. Like it didn't.
You were used to it.
Yeah, well, I knew it, with or without it, I was still who I was. Right. So, it's who you associate with. It's understanding not to take the first step. And then people say, well, how do you know? Well, you know. There's this feeling you get in your stomach. I think unless you're a sociopath, you know when you're not doing the right thing. You get this sort of feeling, maybe this. If you have that feeling, you're probably not doing the right thing, right? And then you have to be careful not to use the power of rationalization, because the human brain is incredibly adept at rationalizing. So you got to avoid that. And all in all, I think for me, I'm fortunate that it ended up. I got a second chance, and that worked out really well. But for many people, you don't get. That's right. Just don't put yourself behind the 8 ball. Avoid that. I don't mean don't fail. Fail. You should fail. Everyone should fail. I believe that. I learned more about when I failed than when I succeeded in business, right? But going out there and losing your ethical way is a choice that you make. And I don't care I'm not saying don't do drugs. I'm sober, but I'm not like don't do drugs. I'm talking about actions that impact other people negatively. You get it? That doesn't end well. And you really have to realize there is this sort of energy in the universe, and there is karma, and you want to be on the right side of that equation.
You recruit me. I'm a new sales guy. I'm working for you. One, what do you look for somebody to be a good candidate for you?
Well, it depends on the industry. It depends on what they're selling. I mean, in some industries, you want to hire someone that has some experience. In other industries, you don't. It's better to have someone that has no experience. So you really can't answer that question blanket without having some context to it. But there are certain personality types that tend to do better at selling. At Stratton back in the day, it was, I don't care. I don't want anyone who knows anything about stocks. It's so easy for me to train someone to become a salesman. So the skill of selling is a very easy skill set to acquire, right? When someone that knows how to teach you the straight line, it's very easy to learn. More importantly is does someone have a standard that is gonna demand them to make a lot of money? In other words, what's that person's financial state? I want hungry people that really just wanna make a lot of money. And I want people who obviously are gonna represent my product the right way. I don't want a bunch of people who are not gonna go out there and serve the brand. In some industries, like I would never wanna hire someone without industry experience, because it's so crucial to be able to speak a certain way in the industry, right? Other times I wanna hire some people that have connections already. They might have sold they already know the decision makers, right? And want someone that can kind of walk in the door with a new product and hire that person. So it all depends on the situation. If someone can't take rejection, that's obviously a red flag. But I think a lot of time that is more of a symptom of a different problem, that they don't know how to sell. In other words, my experience with people that have problems taking rejection is once you teach them how to sell, they don't have a problem taking rejection because they understand what it's about and how to handle it. I look for someone who has desire, they're hungry, willing to learn, team players, obviously. I love people that want to work on commission. So if someone says they need a huge salary up front and they don't really want, that's a huge red flag, no commission, right? I love commission-based people. And I've probably recruited and trained more salesmen than probably anyone on the planet, tens of thousands of them, right? And sometimes it's just hard to know. Really, it is hard to know. We have tests. I have some company that develop tests based on my personality type, like, psychometric tests for sales. So you can run a psychometric test on people. So much of it comes down to what happens when the person gets hired. Is there an induction, having the right induction program to get someone indoctrinated into the cult, so to speak, of the process of the company? And then also, training them. This is the biggest mistake that most companies make. Two things. A, they don't provide people with the sales training they need to make them expert closing, technically know how to close the deal. So they don't go into good situations and blow them, right? And the second thing is many companies don't invest enough in the marketing side of the equation to provide leads to the salespeople. It's a big thing. I can't tell you how many, I get hired all the time to go to companies to train the sales forces. And at least 75% of the time, they also need help in the marketing category. They're not giving the salesman the support they need by giving them leads. Leads are the gasoline in the engine of a salesman. So it's that too.
How do the millennials make money? But without some foundation, my answer doesn't make sense. For some of your listeners, my answer is not going to make sense even with some foundation. But you have to want to make a shit ton of money.
Snowflake means you melt under pressure. That's originally what it meant. There was an article in Forbes, I think, a couple years ago. 70% of millennials cry at work once a week. It's pathetic.
The chances are you don't know anything about goals. If they are, you know something, they're probably low goals. You've never thought about being a billionaire. You can't become a billionaire unless you think about it.
If you're lazy, there's nothing that can help you.
Okay, you don't have to come from something, but you have to have belief in yourself. And unfortunately, getting back to your millennial question, most of millennials don't believe in themselves. They act like victims. They have the victim syndrome. And that's unfortunate. It's why programs like yours, with the greatest respect, get a lot of views. Did you realize Gallup did a poll 2 years ago? 87% of the human race is unhappy. 87. Why are they unhappy? Yeah, I can tell you. They don't have what they perceive as what they deserve. But it's not what you deserve in life, it's what you earn in life.
If you change 1 billion lives, you'll get wealthy. What you believe in enough to quit your job to try to change 1 billion lives. Most of the kids just want to know if they get paid twice a month.
If you had all the money you ever wanted, how would you get up in the morning? What would you do?
Andrew Carnegie said it best. Tom Watson Sr., the founder of IBM, said it best again. Henry Ford, said it again, and I've said it. If you have to motivate employees, they're not worth having. Nobody ever had to motivate me in my life. And one of my big bosses on Wall Street, who's the godfather to our youngest son, and he hates hearing this, when your dad was 26, 27, 28, we would have to have security drag him out of the office because he'd sleep at his desk for 7 or 8 days. His secretary used to go out and buy him new shirts and underwear, and he'd sponge bath in the men's room. Our kids don't like hearing that story, but it happens to be true. Nobody ever had to motivate me. I've never, ever been corrected for making a mistake in my 51 years in business. Never once. I'm always the most prepared in the room. And virtually all the other gurus, although I don't consider them in my league, say it's easy and they upsell you. And then they upsell you, then they say it's even easier with this. And it's not easy. It's ball busting, takes a lot of human sacrifice, but you've got to really want it. You have to want it more than the air that you breathe.
Number one, you want to be in a business where there's big margins, big gross margins. Not, for example, retail, forget about it. Restaurants, forget about it. Things that you want big margins. Unfortunately, in my opinion, Most internet businesses have big margins. That's why you flock to it, the net. You see guys like Zuckerberg, multi-billionaire, who came up with an idea, allegedly came up with an idea, if you don't believe that he stole it from the Twinkle House twins. First of all, you want between 20 and 40% gross margins. So even if you mismanage it, you'll come out with a decent net margin. Number two, if you're not first, you have to be different. What I see kids doing is just replicating the same business idea over and over again. So if you're not first, you've got to be different. How are you different? Well, who's your market? Do you really understand who your market is? The best and easiest way to become wealthy, not overnight, but in a short period of time, is to come up with an idea that nobody's come up with. And unfortunately, most ideas have already been explored. You're not going to invent steel. You're not going to invent rubber. You're not going to invent the wheel. You're not going to, none of these things. Right now, there's more money than you'd think being made in green. I'm not a believer that the world's going to end because of global warming, but there's little niches. I would look at government contracts, because unfortunately, the Canadian government, the US government, the British government doesn't have a level of expertise that you have to bid on government contracts. So that means you, young lady, could bid on government contracts in Canada for whatever. There are 3 million contracts daily being let in the Canadian government. There's 10 million contracts daily in the US government. You just go to canadiangov.co, whatever the initials for Canada are, and you'll see. And so how can I bid, you're asking yourself, when I don't know anything? You go find a joint venture partner. A joint venture partner has no downside taking you on as a joint venture partner, minority partner, if you do all the work and they get the business. And that's how you get your foot in the door.
Bitcoin is the strongest asset the human race has ever invented. It's like gold with none of the defects of gold. It's very rare that you find a technology that's the solution to every rich person's problem and every poor person's problem simultaneously. Bitcoin is the first point in human history where engineering impinged on economics. Up until this point, people didn't really embrace the idea of energy theory and engineering theory and math and sciences as being integral to the way that a monetary asset functioned. It used to be money was, seashells and tokens, and then we have this, we have gold and we have coins, and then we have general agreements and the like. And Bitcoin was the first time when we created a digital monetary asset, a pure digital token on a pure digital network. You have to find a way, if you're gonna have assets, to get over the hurdle rate. Another way to say it is, I have to invest it in a strategy which is going to appreciate faster than the money is devalued. If the money is devalued at 7% a year, then the S&P 500 index better yield 9 or 10%. If it yields 10% and the money devalues at 7%, you're plus 3. You can save money in an S&P 500 index fund. You can't save money with bonds unless you're buying bonds and the interest rates keep getting reduced. If you bought a bond at 4% yield and the interest rate got taken down to 3.5%, the bond trades up. And when the interest rate goes down to 3%, it trades up again. And when it goes down to 2.5%, it trades up again. When the bond rates or the LIBOR, the short-term bond rate and interest rate goes to 0, you can't take it down anymore. So bonds won't hold value either. So now you're in a conundrum. I have a lot of assets, but I'm not beating the hurdle rate, and the hurdle just tripled. It's a problem that anybody that works for a salary has, which is I generate a cash and the currency is being devalued every year. The value of the cash flows into the future is collapsing. The road to serfdom is working exponentially harder for a currency growing exponentially weaker. And so how do you solve the problem? And the solution to the problem is you convert your assets from a weak currency that's inflating into a strong currency, or a strong asset, if you will, that is deflating. So I buy $1 million of gold. Okay, if the price goes up, the gold miners, first of all, the gold miners are going to create more gold and dump it on the market. If I could eliminate all gold mining forever, if I could wave a magic wand and make it impossible to mine any more gold, my $1 million of gold will hold its value better because it'll be scarce. But gold miners are inflating the value of the supply of gold by at least 2% a year or so. And then if the price doubles again, investors will invest in more gold miners and they'll create more capacity to mine gold. So you'll create capacity to mine gold, you'll mine the gold, you'll crank up the rate at which the gold mines function. After that, people with gold jewelry will melt their jewelry down, convert it to gold bullion and sell it, right? If the price of gold went up by a factor of 20, you would be like converting all your gold stuff into gold bullion because it seems like a good idea. They call it scrap gold, right? And then after that, bankers will issue gold warrants and gold paper and gold derivatives, and they'll sell them short without the gold because they can speculate in it, and they don't have to have a one-for-one coverage of gold to the gold derivatives. And so that's called hypothecation and rehypothecation. Okay, if it keeps going up, the governments holding gold will start to sell some of their gold to manipulate the price down. Right, and all of these, and ultimately, if it goes up enough, someone will club you over the head and take your gold, or a hostile regime will take your gold, or a politician will pass a law taxing your gold. Right, there's a lot of ways you lose gold because it's physical. How do you cure the problem? Right, I mean, here's how you cure the problem. You make it impossible to mine any more gold, and then you make it possible to take custody of your gold personally off of the exchange or off of the bank. So that way the bank can't hypothecate it or rehypothecate it, miners can't inflate it, investors can't create any more gold miners. So Bitcoin represents the apex property rights of the human race. Like I'm not disputing the ability or the legitimacy of a government to pass a tax. At the end of the day, they can tax your gold, they can tax your stocks, your bonds, your building, yourself, your income, whatever they want. But the point really is you're a lot more likely to tax the stuff that you walk past, every day on the way to work. And legitimately, you can move yourself and you can move your property, if it's crypto, to another jurisdiction, but you can't legitimately move a ranch in California.
Rise up, baby. Rise up. Rise up. Oh yeah, it's time to rise up. You hear me talking to you? It's time for you to rise up. It's time for you to commit. I want you to hear my voice in your sleep. Rise up. It's time. You've been wasting too much time. You've been delaying too much time. You've been procrastinating for too long. Rise up. It's time for you to commit. You asking me, well, commit to what? You know exactly what I'm talking about. Commit to your dreams. Commit to your goals. I need you to rise up and commit to yourself. Commit to the process. I'm tired of you getting on Facebook and social media and Instagram and looking at everybody else. You sit there and you spy on everybody else's success. You sit there and look at their house, their cars. You sit there and look at their purses and their bag. And you look and say, man, I wish that was me. I wish that was me. Oh man, I wish that was me. People taking fancy trips, private planes. And you say to yourself, I wish that was me. It can be you, but you gotta rise up. You gotta commit to the process. You gotta get in the game. Stop being a spectator and start being a participant. Stop being a spectator and start being a participant. I need you to rise up right now. So I need you to rise up, and rising up ain't enough. I need you to make sure you understand the process, and the process means you gotta follow through. We gotta rise up, we gotta start, we gotta finish. We gotta rise up, we gotta start, we gotta finish. We gotta rise up right now, and we gotta start, and we gotta finish. I don't care how good you are. I don't care how talented you are, because Bruce Lee said it best. A warrior is an average person with laser-like focus. A warrior is an average person with laser-like focus. Don't even worry about your ability. Don't you worry about opportunity. I need you to be a warrior right now and let your work get your opportunity. Let your work get your praise. Let your work open up doors. Let your work get people paying attention. Let your work get the whole world to notice. You gotta work. Stop thinking, stop procrastinating, and you gotta work. I need you to rise up to fulfill your dreams. Rise up and attack your goals. There's no time to sleep, no time to nap, no time to waste. If you fall asleep, wake up and rise up again. You should work so hard that you collapse in the bed at night. Sometimes in the afternoon, you're so weary from grinding that your body just collapses. That's okay. Have sweet sleep, but when you wake up, grind again. Now is your time. Now is your season. Now is the moment to capture the vision. Let me tell you something. Here's what success is all about. You need these three things. Are you ready? You need skill set, mindset, and opportunity. Skill set, mindset, and opportunity. You need to rise up and understand what success is all about. Skill set, work on your skill. Mindset, work on your mentality, baby, and your opportunity will come. Trust me, when your opportunity comes, you better be ready. When your opportunity hits, you better respond, baby. And all the work you put in, all the grind you put in, when your opportunity shows up, you gonna be ready. Because hard work pays. Let me tell you something. Hard work will pay off. Your dreams are gonna get there. But I need you to start. I need you to follow through. And I need you to finish.